Yes. Yes.
Okay, everybody in the back, cameraman in the back in the red jacket.
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Detective Sergeant Sally Jenkins with Major Crimes Division. I've called a press conference today along with my colleagues behind me. Going to be on my left, Detective Joanna Poole. On my right, Detective Lane Maximus. And to his right, Sergeant Emily Taylors with the LSPD. We have called this press conference to sort of alert the public of incidents going on. My colleague Joanna will go further into detail, but we hope that we can answer some questions for you today, and thank you for coming. Detective Poole.
Hello everyone, like the Detective Sergeant said, my name is Detective Joanna Poole with Major Crimes Division. As of late, I'm sure many citizens of Los Santos have been aware of the presence of a serial killer that goes by the name of the Apex Predator. We've organized some time today to address some of the concerns about this individual for public safety and to give the tools needed to aid in the apprehension of this criminal. We highly encourage anyone who has seen or heard anything regarding this person to contact law enforcement via 911 or 311 so that we will continue to document his movements and lead to an arrest. At this time, we will be giving a general description of some of the activity related to the Apex Predator, and we'll be answering questions from the press afterwards. The self-proclaimed Apex Predator seems to have an interest in a flower called a forget-me-not, which is a blue flower with smaller petals. He leaves it in public businesses and encourages civilians to wear such a flower to protect themselves from him. While we do not encourage civilians to give in to fear, it is your right to protect yourself as you see fit. He leaves graffiti messages related to the Apex Predator and forget-me-nots. They varied from places in Vinewood to around Mission Row, stuff like that. His crime scenes, without going into too much detail due to open investigations, they tend to be more gruesome in nature, and the victims tend to be displayed very deliberately. He usually leaves notes and claims his crimes as his own. If you come across one of these murder scenes, you are highly encouraged not to touch anything and contact law enforcement immediately. He tends to take an interest in contacting news outlets, as I'm sure many of you are aware, for attention. So if he reaches out to you, please contact us. While the press has freedom of speech in press, obviously, it is encouraged that you work with police in order to do some good rather than continue to give this guy attention. At this time, we will take questions as long as the detective sergeant is okay with that. As long as it doesn't pertain to specific details about open investigations. Obviously, some victims, we're not going to disclose their names due to privacy for families at this time. But other than that, we can answer what we can.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Bex Lawson. I'm here with Clout Magazine. Quick question. There are two sorts of serial killers according to the FBI: process and product, as in, is it the act of killing or torturing that entices them, or the ability to set up an altar or, you know, a scene? Do we have any idea what sort of killer we are dealing with here?
Oh, sorry.
In regards to
product or process, essentially, like for criminal profiling, does the LSPD have that view?
His methods of his crime scenes are going to be a bit of product and process. He's very meticulous in how he apprehends his victims as a suspect, and as well as how he treats them. Similar, we're noticing patterns as well with all of our victims, and he sort of creates a sort of what he would probably detail as a artistic display. But by that we mean they're very gruesome, but they are very detail oriented. It's very, very apparent that he wants to direct all of the attention to himself through his scenes, whether it be the way that he places the flowers at the scene or what he does to his victims.
Thank you.
Travis Rice, CMT News. Do you have estimated number you attribute to this individual, and both in terms of victims who have not made it, and victims who were found alive?
In regards to that, I would say definitely less than the fertilizer, if you remember that case. But it's unclear at this time how many victims in particular that there currently are.
How many?
At this time, no victims of the apex predator have been found alive.
Okay. Confirm. How many was the fertilizer? Just...
If last I remember, I believe it was about 6 or 7. But again, we keep finding clues daily, especially relating to victims. So it's unclear at this time an exact number.
Hi,
Yes,
I'm Carrie.
name in the
she
back,
can
I'm
go.
sorry.
That's okay. She can go ahead.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, this is Carrie Dad with Weazel News. My question is in regards to the area of where his victims are being found, or where he seems to prey and roam. Is he limiting himself to Los Santos, or has he spread out to the other town?
We have found clues related to this killer anywhere from Los Santos to the Grapeseed area, I believe even Toledo.
At this time, it's going to be the entire state of San Andreas.
Is there any pattern to where he's leaving his victims, or is it?
We believe there to be a pattern, but we don't want to disclose too much of that information at this time. We are attempting to predict his movements, and we feel that we're very close.
You keep using male pronouns. Do we know for sure that this killer is a man?
Two of us here have spoken to him on the radio. One, I believe there was an incident where other law enforcement spoke to him, but at this time, the voices that we've been speaking with on the radio have been male in nature and tone.
Lady in the back, I know you were wanting to speak. Sorry.
Oh, yes, thank you. My name is Lottie Crenshaw. I was wondering if you've looked at the magical tributes of forget-me-nots, because they tend to be worn or carried for a lover that's close to their heart. And if that may be of some use to you, I could give you some more information about that, since he is wanting people to wear them for protection.
In regards to that, I mean, any information is welcome. We've done some investigating ourselves into those particular flowers. I don't know in particular that it has a magical spin to it. To me, it seems more like a
All right, sweet, thank you.
biblical kind of stance. If you think of Passover, put blood on your wall.
Yeah.
Forget-me-not in your garden box, stuff like that for protection.
Okay.
Travis Ray, once again. Is he related to a? Has he been also going by the appellation, or I know I butchered that. Pardon. Has he also been going by the name the Butcher, perhaps, or had any scenes that left biblical clues?
No, at this time, he's made it very apparent that he is the apex predator. Given the incident with Nate Shore, he wants everyone to know who he is and what he is called. He's never gone by anything else. He's made it very apparent who he is and what he does. He's made it very apparent what his sign is, the blue forget-me-not, and he's been very vocal through murals as well as what he leaves with victims.
I have a question. Was the grizzly scene at Public Works related to this latex predator?
The
It's
scene
Apex.
Oh,
the scene at the scene at Public Works was not the doing of the apex predator. The scene at Public Works is in tandem and related to another situation at hand with a cult in the state of San Andreas known as, well, one individual we've been calling the Weazel, some say Vassal. and they appear to be located primarily in the county. We are also working that case diligently. The primary detective on that scene is not here tonight. It would be Detective Junior Major. Lieutenant George Kuznetsov would know more as well. I have been to several of those scenes, and I can 100% say that the scene at Public Works was the doing of the Weazel.
Thank you.
Sergeant Travis Ray, as you may be aware, I did participate in communications with him that I brought to your attention through both phone and radio about a couple weeks back. During that time, there was an individual that was found. I don't want to name the location. But I was on scene when he was discovered. At the time, he appeared alive. From where I saw him, is he still in stable condition? Has he been?
Negative. He later passed away in surgery.
Thank you.
Do we have
Hi,
any
I have
reason...
another question.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to ask if there's been any copycat scenes.
From what we understand, we have several scenes that we've found. I think that some of them could be copycats based on the biblical references in nature left. We have documented those in extensive nature in our database and are looking to connect the dots. At this time, those scenes that we've found, there have been 2. I am not comfortable saying they were the doing of the apex predator, but I believe they are trying to give the same message, so they could in fact be a copycat.
Travis, go ahead.
Do we have any reason to believe that this man has any particular skills that would mark him as a certain profession? For instance, has he displayed any medical skills, any, autopsy skills, anything that might narrow down his presence to a certain anything that might narrow the suspect's list down to a profession or a trade?
Well, we don't know for sure, but he has displayed great skill in the way that he, for lack of better terms, displays his victims. It's done very meticulously and carefully, which leads us to suggest that he possibly has medical knowledge or even just like a hunting background in regards to like field dressing and stuff like that. But it seems like this is not the first time he's done something like this.
In addition, he would be someone that would be very skilled in botanical purposes, as he's been one of the only few people to cultivate a very variety of forget-me-nots in the soil of San Andreas, where it is particularly very hard to grow those flowers.
One more question, sorry. Has the apex predator made any comment recently about a feud with the collector or any other public figures? You mentioned he's attention seeking. Has he taken that out on any other criminal figures in San Andreas or Los Santos?
I believe that there was a bit of a graffiti match between him and some individual known as the Collector, as I believe the Los Santos diatribes incorrectly mentioned the apex predator as the Collector, or referenced the Collector in the article, and the apex predator went ahead and made his own graffiti, and they had a bit of a graffiti match, I believe, underneath the bridge on the street behind Center Street.
Travis Ray, that graffiti match, Center Street this is Center Street. With respect to that graffiti match, there was mention of the court center. Was that a place where one of the victims was found?
Correct. I processed that scene myself, along with another officer that is not here tonight. We did find the victim at the court center. It was documented in full, and everything was retrieved and returned to the family.
Okay. One more question. Is there any commonality between all the victims, so that that the public should be aware of so that they can take precautions in becoming the next victim on this killer's list?
As Detective Poole stated, she is the primary lead on the case. Forget-me-nots with the bodies or any scene will always be left with the apex predator. The scenes, in short, will be very gruesome and hard to stomach for most. It is without a doubt to say that you will know simply by the flower.
I think you mean the demographic of the victim.
It's a wide variety. There is no, everyone is at risk.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any knowledge on how this apex predator is transporting victims or bodies? Is there a vehicle? Is there a chance he has an accomplice to help him with this? Or does it seem like he is acting solo?
At this time, it seems that he is acting individually. We don't know at this time if there's any other connected to him.
We see more individuals working together in the Weazel or Vassal case than we do the Forget-Me-Not case, which is what we have called it. The apex predator, as you all know him, he seems to be working alone. He's very, very meticulous and very, very concerned about being the center of attention.
I'm sorry, you keep mentioning how the scenes are pretty gruesome. Do we have a specific weapon that he's using? What's the mode of
He will not be
dismemberment?
using a pistol. If what I can say and what I will share is that it is obviously some form of bladed, serrated weapon, instrument of tool. The individuals found, the victims found, do not appear to have any sort of gunshots. It is always some form of something taken. I will leave it at that.
It also seems that he has strangled a victim or two as well. There have been signs of asphyxiation as well.
I have one more question. You mentioned biblical references. I was wondering, and you probably can't really get into specifics about this,
All right.
but
If we have any more questions, we'll take them now. But
There's one in the back.
sorry, I had one
I'm
more.
sorry.
Oh, jeez.
My voice is soft. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so you mentioned biblical references, and I understand you can't give a lot of details, but was there any kind of other symbolism found at the crime scenes at all?
I would say at this time, due to the open investigation, we can't get too into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
When you Travis Ray again, when you mentioned that you had that something was taken from the victims, have any of these missing items turned up at other locations throughout the city?
Yes,
Yes.
we have found some personal items related to victims being found in other locations.
What I can say is that I assure you there are multiple members of the Major Crimes Division as well as several law enforcement officers between Blaine County and Los Santos Police Departments. They are working night and day to document anything and chase down leads and investigate further to bring this individual to justice.
A quick follow-up on that personal thing. Was one of these personal items discovered at Weazel News about a couple weekends ago?
I don't believe we can say either way. I know personally, I don't know anything about that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would just urge the public, if they find anything or anything of the sort, to please contact law enforcement. I understand that there are a variety of people that are wanting to bring this individual to justice themselves, but the more that we aren't informed, as we have most of the information, the more that this person can run free. Help us, help you. Pretty much, we ask and urge for the support of the community.
Okay. If there are no further questions, we'll go ahead and conclude.
Just one more question.
Yes, Mr. Ray.
You mentioned grapeseed. Was this related to an officer injury? One of CNT reporters has been working a story on.
The one that I was
Negative.
referencing, no.
Okay, thank you.
The one that you're referencing, Mr. Ray, would be the work of the vassal or vessel.
Okay.
If there are,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
Detective Poole. If there are any questions about, while we're here, if there are any questions about the vessel or vassal, feel free to go ahead and ask those. I will attempt to answer them as best as I can.
I just wondered if we had any updates or any new scenes or.
The public works scene was recent. It seemed to have happened this weekend. Again, what I will say about this specific serial killer is that any sort of writing in blood, weird lettering, cryptic lettering, bone dolls, the mention of Strix, any sort of lots of bones, any individual in San Andreas, if you receive a gift of a, for lack of better terms, voodoo doll, seems to be a bone doll or made of sticks, please contact law enforcement. Please, I urge across all fronts the community to be aware of their surroundings, and if they feel that they are being followed or any sort of suspicious activity, please call 911.
Are you aware of any more serial killers operating in the state at this time, or is it just the two? The
primary two that we have at the moment would be the apex predator and the vessel. We're currently investigating other scenes that have been provided to us that we've also been to see if they are going to fit the description of a serial killer. At this time, those are just open investigations of murder.
Final question related, somewhat related, is either of these killers related to a discovery of an incident involving cannabis at a town hall earlier this weekend?
If you're referencing the bag of marijuana nailed to the press conference room at City Hall, is that correct, Mr. Ray?
That is correct.
At this time, we have no means to believe that that's related to the two that we're speaking of, but it's still too soon to tell who put that there. I would also like to mention that things of that nature, we are taking utmost caution, making sure that we cover every base before we make any sort of generalization about who might have left that.
Okay, I do have one final question, and I think I mentioned this the other day. While interviewing a few of the neighbors in Paleto Bay, someone did mention a cannibal in Harmony. Do you have any news about that? Is that related to any of?
We believe that as far as that specific incident that I think you're referencing, I'm not sure who that might be, but the vessel or vassal we've seen in the place where they have taken residence or attempt to take residence as law enforcement regularly attempts to clean it out. There have been several sorts of things relating to cannibalism and several different cultural beliefs relating to cannibalism as well. All right, if there are no further questions, at any time, if anyone wants to call 911, give anonymous tips, we are always here. Otherwise, this press conference is adjourned, and I thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.